Welcome to Facebook Live, Ask a Naturalist. Today's topic is animal sweethearts. Thanks for sticking around as we work through some technical things to be here with you today. I am Maria. I am the Digital Learning Manager here at Cincinnati Nature Center, and with me is...
Cory. I am the Director of Conservation for the Nature Center.
So it's February, which is Valentine's Day month, but today happens to be Groundhog's Day. And Cory, I heard that you have been doing some research on groundhogs.
A little bit. So, yes, when I was initially asked to do the Animal Sweetheart talk, I was convinced I knew exactly what I wanted to talk about. And then I realized that today was Groundhog's Day. And I started looking into groundhogs and courtship and mating rituals. And I have a whole new respect for these guys. So here's the reason, though. So these groundhogs, Puxatawny Phil, for example, he comes out of his burrow. What is it? If he sees a shadow, he goes. I don't know.
If he sees the shadow, then I don't know.
It means there is going to be
winter's coming or it's not.
Which everybody should know is not true. It has nothing to do with it. But they actually come out. So the males are coming out of their burrows. So they've been like hibernating, hanging out, but. They don't come out this time of year because they're out of hibernation. The males are coming out of their hibernation because they need to patrol their territory. So they've got about a 2 acre to 3 acre home range, so a territory that they peruse. And within that are all of these female groundhog burrows. Now the females are still asleep. They don't really need to get up early. The males get up early because they go and have, and I'm not even kidding, this is G-rated, sleepovers, but just legitimate sleepovers with the females. And it's like, well, what in the world do you do? Because the females are not interested in reproducing until spring. Like February, don't bother me with that. But the males need to reacquaint themselves with all the females so that when spring does arrive and the males really start looking for girlfriends, all of the females have already been having sleepovers with them for the past month. So then it's much easier to find your females if you've been reacquainting yourself through the entire month of February.
Wait, so do the females know that the male is doing the sleepovers, or are they just out?
No, they know. Like they have a sleepover, and there's just sleepover. Like the guy described it. So there's a professor that's actually he spent his life studying groundhogs, apparently. They wake up just to have sleepovers, and then once they've had a sleepover with all the females in their territory, they go back to sleep for a month. Then they wake up when everybody's awake, and then they start like, oh, hey, yeah, remember we had that sleepover? Why don't we go on a date now? I think that is so fantastic, though. And it's a groundhog. Like, the cutest little chubbiest guys are coming out of their burrows. I just thought it was wonderful.
That sounds like a cuddly sleepover.
Right?
Yeah.
I just thought it was a wonderful story, and I love it. And I didn't know anything about groundhogs until that.
Love it. Well, now we know so much more about groundhogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So feel free to ask any questions that you have for Cory about animal sweethearts. We will have those questions coming to us. Otherwise, we're just going to keep on chatting here.
Because I did want to, in the interest of our viewers or members, right? Valentine's Day is coming, and I wanted to point out that gift giving is a perfectly natural part of the courtship rituals.
So it's a part of animals' love languages too?
Yes. So it is absolutely a part of animal love languages. And I wanted to give two what I think like the best examples. So first of all, I get excited when I start talking about this because it's fun. Nuptial gifts. That's what they're called. Just like what is it? The dowry kind of a deal. Like same kind of a deal. So cardinals, those beautiful red cardinals outside in your yard right now. When the male is interested in a female, he will feed her seeds, feed her sunflower seeds. Now the female with cardinals, they're basically monogamous, which means they want to pair up for the season, and the female may be fed by a few males before she decides, like, this dude is a really good provider for me. I think I want I want to have his babies, right? Which is not too dissimilar from people, I just want to point out. But spiders, wolf spiders, nursery web spiders, so those spiders you see running around your yard that have the little white egg sac on them. Mm-hmm. Okay. Those female spiders also receive nuptial gifts from the male spiders, right?
What do they get?
So, some of the females will get a piece of like an insect wrapped in silk, right? It's food, right? I'm going to feed you. It's like chocolates. I'm going to give you chocolates. But recently, they have discovered that there are a whole group of males who figured out how to cheat the system by just wrapping up an empty package of silk to keep the female busy trying to unwrap it while he does what he needs to do and then gets the heck out of Dodge because he doesn't want to get eaten. So the female's busy opening this gift that ultimately has nothing in it. And yeah, so it's a way of cheating the system.
How rude.
It's like an empty package. It's like if your boyfriend gives you, or girlfriend or whoever gives you an empty package that it takes you forever to open. Exact same thing. These males are cheating the system.
Don't like it.
And yeah, so it's nuptial. So the whole thing, and again, it isn't too dissimilar from people. The idea is if this thing that is pursuing me, right? This thing that wants to have a family with me, if they're a good provider, they should be showing me that they're a good provider or that they're somehow stronger than everyone else. Like peacocks, though, when peacocks are courting, or turkeys, like your native turkeys, the males are showing off how big and strong they are. They're not doing lots of nuptial gifts. They're not giving you a gift. They're just, it's like if you've ever been to a gym and you've seen the dudes hanging out in the corner that just, sort of strutting around watching everyone go by. That's just it's called a lek. Have you heard this word? Lek, L-E-K, lek. It's just a group of males all looking for females, but they stick together so that it's a big group of males that are easier for females to find. So then the females sort of walk by them and sort of check everybody out, right? Well, if you're a turkey, you just show off your gigantic tail. Like, I'm the biggest, the baddest, just like having, the muscle dudes in the gym. But if you're a wolf spider, or if you're a cardinal, where you might be able to be super bright red, but at some point, bright red is bright red, right? Like, come on. But I'm bright red, and I'm going to give you more seeds than that other cardinal's going to give you, right? So it's a way of the male convincing the female that he's worthy, even if he's not the prettiest or the strongest or the most muscular.
Do the female cardinals ever reject the nuptial gifts?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And in the case of skunks, for example, so skunks don't do a lot of nuptial gifts, but they do a lot of so just in talking about rejection, which I know a lot about rejection, you might not be surprised to know. But in skunks, for example, if males will pursue females, right, and they try to get cuddly and they try to get familiar with a female, you know how she rejects the males?
I'm guessing spray.
She sprays them. So this time of year, if you're seeing or smelling, I guess, a lot of skunks around your house, it's probably not, I would always thought, it's just dogs or something, maybe skunks are spraying them. No, most of the time during March, April, it's females who are trying to get rid of the males because they don't want the males around and they're rejecting them. And nuptial gifts, yeah, with cardinals, the females just won't eat the seed, right? With wolf spiders, if the female finds out that she's being tricked, she eats the male.
Oh,
so the ultimate form
revenge.
Of rejection, she just eats him. So it is definitely a game he's playing when it comes to...
That's the most dangerous game.
Yes, some fairly severe repercussions. But absolutely females often reject males. But usually it's almost always males pursuing females. In some species, it's the opposite, like our kingfishers. So the kingfishers. So the females are the more colorful ones. The reason that is the males have stuck around all winter. Females have sort of migrated away. The males have stuck around, defended their territory, and there's not that many holes in the banks of rivers for these kingfishers. They've got these big territories. So they've been defending their little homes. So when the females come back from migration, suddenly it's the males who have the most invested in this relationship. Like, this is my house, you have to show me that you deserve it. That's one of the few cases, at least of native species, where it's male choice, not female choice, which again, I think is kind of interesting.
Do the females do anything special to prove their worthiness?
They do not. They simply are, not that I know of. Actually, maybe I should. I don't think so. I do know that it is a case of who is the brightest. So the females have that like beautiful, they have like a red crescent.
So pretty. Kingfishers are beautiful.
Red, orange, I guess, not really red. Anyway, so it is who the prettiest female is coming back, and do I think this person, this bird is worthy of my home?
Do we have any questions? No questions so far. Feel free to put your questions in the chat. We'll be happy to answer them. Well, Cory will. I'll be happy to talk about them.
So I did a lot of homework preparing, and it was fun homework because I am interested in this. And I was looking at everything that's breeding right now because it's the month of love. But there's, this time of year, not a lot of things are actually breeding. A lot of mammals are. So minks are out there looking for partners, let's say. Your groundhogs are looking for partners. Squirrels are sort of ending the time they're looking for partners. But what's really interesting is in the animal kingdom, you have what's called either short day, I guess you could say short day breeders, or long day breeders, meaning if they sense that the days are getting longer, they want to find a mate. If they sense the days are getting shorter, they want to find a mate. And you fall in one of two categories. So things like, deer, for example, if the days start getting shorter, that's when it cues them into they need to be able to mate. But with a lot of songbirds, it is the longer days. And the reason is, if you think about it, the deer have to go through gestation, right? So the females are carrying around these babies. And they need to carry the baby around during a time of year when they don't have to take care of it very much. So winter. Be a terrible time for winter to try to raise a baby in winter because there's no food. So if you have the baby in spring, that means you need to have courted the parent of the baby in fall, winter. But if you're a songbird and you lay eggs and the babies are only going to be in the egg for like 3 weeks, a month, then you don't want to time your courtship too early because then you're going to wind up with babies and no food. But if you time your courtship too late and go too late in the year, then you're going to have babies who aren't able to mature enough, put on the weight they need to survive winter. So it's actually kind of a cool balance that most wildlife are going through, all based on what resources are available to them, when they need to find girlfriends, whether the days are getting shorter, when to plan the next sleepover.
So are birds beginning their courtship yet, or is it a little too early?
Some of them are. So it's a little early for some of the songbirds. If anybody goes to our Long Branch Farm site, Long Branch Farm and Trails, you might be able to see in February the great blue herons should be starting the nests on the rookery off one of our trails. Now, with this, you might, again, it is G-rated, but you can't make some of this stuff up. So herons are monogamous, but they're seasonally monogamous, which means we're in it for the season, but not for the rest of our lives. And here's what they do. So they create these giant rookeries, or heronries, if you want to call them that, where the males build maybe multiple nests in order to attract the females that are going to be flying around these areas who are also looking for partners, right? So the male heron will be offering sticks or be showing off, like, look at all of these nests that I built for you. The interesting thing is the males are starting that now. The females won't come back in for a little while. And what happens is they all remingle, which means your spouse from last year is going to be there mingling too. But she may not, or he may not be your spouse this year. You may be the spouse of the person or the bird that was in the nest beside you last year. Which, if it's not a soap opera, I don't know what is in the heron world.
Sounds very dramatic.
So it's like a nightclub for herons. Like they're just building these little like platforms, and they're sharing these sticks, trying to attract whichever female's coming back. But they're all just remingling every year, and that's what's happening right now. I think we only had like 8 nests in our rookery last year. The biggest nest that I've heard of had 176 nests in a single tree.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and to coordinate that many parents flying in and out, and the courtship rituals of herons are crazy too. They do the little head bounce and they stick their feathers up, and it's very elaborate. But they also do this. They call it oh my goodness, I can't even think of the name of it now. Relief. It is the nest relief ceremony. So when a parent's sitting on the eggs or on the babies, effectively. And let's say the male is out hunting. He comes back. They do this little bill slap and this little like head bobble to signify like, all right, this is our ritual. We may switch nests. You can go out looking for food, and I will relieve you of your nesting duties. So I'm just saying, if you're out at the farm and you find the rookery, it should be on our Facebook page when it's actually there. We'll have it roped off so that people can't get too close. Watching them is insane to see this very ritualized, very almost standardized, it's like choreographed. And just to see them come in and swap nests is incredible. And it's to me, it's interesting because it all started out with just a nightclub for herons where they're all remixing from last year.
Nightclub for herons, I love it.
What about raptors, owls?
Owls, okay, good question. Excellent question, actually. So most of the raptors have already courted, and they have either stuck together. If you have ones that are going to raise nests together, they're still together. If you have the ones where only the female stays on the nest, then the female's the only one in the nest now. They've already done their thing. So there's no courtship happening with raptors. You have females building nests, potentially laying eggs very soon. But you shouldn't see a lot of breeding or courtship among them now. They should have done that in about November, December is when they usually start that.
Are they one of the short day species then?
They are, and one of the reasons for that is they want their babies to be born and need food when all of the other animals are just now coming out to have babies and have food, so that their babies are just ahead of everybody else's. So that everybody's on the menu for their babies.
That makes sense.
Right?
Mm-hmm. So speaking of babies, unless you've got another question, Cassie, I know that in the coming months we'll get a lot of calls about people who are finding baby animals in their yards or on our trails. Yes. And we did a video about this last year, but I think it's probably worth going over again.
It is. So there are two animals in particular that I get calls about, and the first is probably deer, so fawns. Most female deer are going to have two babies every single year, and both babies will bed down during the day, sometimes in separate areas, while the mom is off foraging, effectively. The mom comes back periodically, but the mom's not going to come back if you're there. So some people say, well, I haven't seen the mom in hours, and I go out and check every hour. Well, she doesn't come back until she knows no one's watching, because her babies don't have a scent. They don't have an odor. They're well hidden. So she doesn't want anybody to know where her babies are hiding. So if it appears that a baby has been abandoned and you have seen it, her trick, the mom's trick, is kind of working. Like, she doesn't want you to know she's actually there because she's not trying to lead you to the babies. So in about 99% of the cases, if you see a fawn in your yard, just leave it alone. It is probably fine. There's no reason to panic. There's no reason to worry. Don't try to pet it. Don't try to give it water. It's perfectly fine. And in fact, in the state of Ohio, it is actually illegal to try and help any deer for any reason whatsoever. So just leave them be. And again, most of the time they're fine. Almost the exact same case with baby bunnies. That's another one that I often get calls about. Baby bunnies do the same thing. So you'll see a nest and there won't be a mom because the mom is looking at you, waiting for you to leave so that she can go help her babies. With baby bunnies, I will say, of course they're cute. There's what's cuter than a baby bunny? It's very tempting to try and help them and to try and raise them if you really think, oh, the mom's gone, I'm sure she's gone, I'm just going to raise these babies myself. So two things. One, if you touch the babies, the mom absolutely will still take care of them. That old wives' tale about don't touch them and the mom won't. No, the mom knows better. So don't feel as though if you've decided to pick them up and you realize this was a really dumb idea, put them back and they'll be fine. But the other thing is people who try to rehabilitate or rescue baby bunnies almost always are not successful. Baby bunnies are incredibly, they have a lot of requirements, a lot of milk requirements in particular, and they're incredibly sensitive. So you can actually stress them out so much that they die because they're so panicked about what's going on. So if you see baby bunnies, the best thing to do is just absolutely leave them alone. Don't keep going over by their nest, because if the cat or dog sees you going over there, they might suddenly be attracted to the nest. So just leave them alone, just like with the fawns, and they're fine. They'll be just fine.
Thanks for the tips on that. Any more questions? Okay. Any other fun facts that you want to share before we wrap
always
this
have
up
so
today?
many fun facts. I think for me, the month of love is interesting because it's February, and I think it's a good time for all of us to really think about, especially for us, nature, what made us fall in love with nature. So I often remind myself of the things that made me love nature. And then I look at, for me, what the Nature Center, for example, is doing and try to figure out where, during this time of year when so much is focused on chocolate and roses and diamonds and rings, like instead, what do I actually care about? What do I actually love in my life? And how do I support that so that I'm giving towards a cause that benefits everybody, instead of, do I really need my wife to buy me, a box of chocolates or
I don't turn down chocolates,
well,
I'm just saying, but that's a lovely sentence.
Yeah, what do I really need? And sometimes it's just, I just want to spend time, and maybe it's going for a hike on the trails here at the Nature Center. So that would be my advice. Let's take a cue from the animal world and really assess who's going to be the best provider for us. And for me, it's nature and everything around us. So.
Well, that's a wonderful way to close things out today. Thank you again for joining us. If you have any other questions that we didn't get to, or you think of something afterwards, feel free to post it in the comments. Thanks again. Bye.